Yoongi is going on Jimmy Fallon, which clearly means that we've not forgiven James Corden.
We're never forgiving James Corden, especially after what he did.
What did he do now?
He said Blackpink are the first artist to get a #1 album on the Billboard 200.
Oh, is that in the Carpool episode?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we've definitely not forgiven them. It's really funny because even Jimin went and did only Jimmy Fallon, and now Yoongi's going.
And it was so cute where he dropped like a bit of sugar in his tea, and then Yoongi was like, "Hello, I'll see you."
Yeah, he's like, "Hello, Jimmy."
Hello, Jimmy. It was so cute.
Yeah. Hi, we are
NoonaTalk.
I'm Zara and I have a in-person guest today.
Oh, I'm Sophia and I'm so glad to finally do this together.
Yes, some of our very initial episodes all the way back in season 1 were both of us in the same location. Go back and check those out because iconic. But we are back in the same location, and what a great episode to be back for.
It is D-Day.
Before we get into all of that, we are NoonaTalk, a podcast where we talk about K-pop, K-drama, K-culture, everything that you need to know, especially if you're a Desi stan. But even if you're not, we welcome you with open arms. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube if you want to see the video version. But if you just want the audio version, we are on all podcasting platforms like Amazon, Spotify, Google, so many more. We're also on Instagram at NoonaTalk, exactly like it sounds, where we will be doing more giveaways. It's happening. Be exciting. So go check all of that out.
So today we are talking about, in case anyone hasn't picked up from our title or the intro, we are talking about Min Yoongi, aka Suga of BTS, aka AgustD, aka A to the G to the U to the STT. The final part of the AgustD trilogy is out, called D-Day, and we have been very excited about it. You can check out our reaction to the pre-release single People Part 2, which came out a couple of weeks back. 2 weeks back?
Like maybe about 10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So check that out. And today we're going to be talking about the entire album, our feelings about it, what we liked, what we didn't like.
So 10 tracks on an album, 3 MVs, including the pre-release track, multiple features, but almost all songs, 100% of all songs are written and produced by Yoongi.
And also our favorite work husband for Yoongi, El Captain.
Love that Yoon Pearl content. There's so much that we're finding out with about their work relationship. I mean, I say that so much, it's not that much, but it's,
it's more than what we've ever got.
Yeah, we've had 0 to work on, so it's great. So let's get started. Yeah.
I mean, we are into it,
But yeah.
Okay. So what were your expectations of the album? I know we've done, if you check out our previous episode, we have talked about it a little, but just to get you guys up on track, what were your expectations from D-Day? Maybe before D-Day was even announced or after it was announced.
But it would blow my mind. Like, I'm not even saying that to be facetious or funny. Like, I genuinely thought it would. Like, it would take, like, one of the things about Yoongi is A, he's an incredible musician, but B, he's also very, very somehow magically so vulnerable with millions of people, and I think that makes a massive difference being a fan.
For me, I was very curious, like I said in that episode, whether are we going to get an album from Min Yoongi or Suga, or are we going to get an AgustD album? So it was very interesting to know that we are getting an AgustD album and an actual sequel to D2. So for me, that was very exciting because D2 was it was a moment for me, and I'm still there.
Yeah, she was the moment, the legend. Yeah. Amazing.
Another thing I was super, super excited about were the features, because Yoongi always has very interesting features and
very carefully. It's a thought. You can tell like this was something that was thought about. If you do get a chance to go watch the V-Live where he does break down the album, you can tell like he has so much thought that he has put into every single track. Not to say that other artists don't, but like with him, it just transcends to like a manic level, which I like appreciate.
That's true. And also I was curious about how much of Mother Adora are we gonna get, because she had said that she was called in by Yoongi to do some vocals. Let's start with the entire track list. We'll go one by one, talk about all of the songs,
all of the feelings,
talk about the things we are ready to talk about, skip over the things we're not ready to talk about. But let's start with the first track, D-Day.
What a banger to like come out of the gate with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no question about it. Like, I think, and messaging wise, it's really important.
Yeah, because the future is going to be okay. Like, that is how it starts.
I have a very strong suspicion that concert set list is also going to start with this, because if you go back and listen to his IU's Palette interview, he talks about how he did music in English so that fans could sing along, and this is the English song. There is none of the others are. So yeah, it'd be a great one. I think future is going to be okay. Such a the sentiment of the sentence versus the way it was delivered.
Yeah, it's like aggressive. Like Yoongi, like you plug your earphones on, you like start the album, and Yoongi is like grabbing you by your shoulders and saying, "Hey, listen, the future's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay," and that's great. That is a very positive note to start on. Banger of a song, great energy, and I think starting with high energy is so important, because it's kind of sets the tone for your listening mood of the album, and high energy is always a great way to go. And let's talk about the beats, because the beats were absolutely banging. And we found out recently from Yoongi's live that actually this was an alternate beat to Run BTS. Yeah. And he was like, oh, it sounded so good that I didn't want to throw it away. And another fun fact, there is a writing credit on it that is not mentioned on the track list, but was later mentioned in the online profile.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it's June.
Oh,
yeah. So he consulted June, of course, for some of the
English.
lyrics. Yeah, so June has a writing credit on it.
June showing up on writing credits for all members, especially in English, is such an iconic thing.
It really is.
Like, so Google Translate is right there, but they're like Nam June only. Nam June Translate.
Papa go who? And then we come to the title track, Hegum. Thoughts?
Head empty, no thoughts. No, if you go back and watch our episode where the album did get announced, I said I highly suspect that there will be use of traditional instruments, which is something that I do appreciate. And the fact that like it is called Hegum, it's a play on words. There is a Hegum track. It's done so well to like use these traditional instruments and make them modern. COVID and pandemic affected my man's more than he's willing to let on. Like, it's very obvious through the messaging and all of the lyrics. Something that I did, like, Min Yoongi is a storyteller. Like, he can't just be like, oh, I was going through a tough time and now I'm breaking free. No, it has to be like metaphor, wordplay, games with your mind.
It was, like I said, it's easy listening in a way where it goes hard, but it doesn't go so hard. There are not too many ups and downs on it. Like, it's kind of a very consistent listen. And I really like that in songs, because while some songs are interesting to listen to when they're, there's a lot of up and down, it's nice to have something that you can just kind of listen to regularly without having to pay attention to it, but still appreciate the minor things in it. Because if you actually listen to it, there's a lot going on, but nothing overwhelms anything in the sound. And obviously the bass line and the Hegum.
I'm so glad you said bass line, because if you listen to Hegum, not a lot of the bass line, but there's parts of the bass line that are the exact ones from Mic Drop's Bridge. Yeah, it's incredible. Very and the use of it is very different, of course, in this case, versus like it's the same, I think, audio sample that they've just placed in different places, or like the maybe vocal effect or whatever it is. Like, it's there, the like ding, ding, ding thing. It's there in both of them, and it's done so well.
Yeah. And I think another thing, two more things, of course, the lyrics. I think the lyrics are so important, and I think it stands as such an interesting contrast to Dachita, where Dachita kind of felt like a commentary upon other people, and while being self-assured and kind of looking into yourself, whereas Hegum felt completely like if on the surface it sounds like a commentary on other people, but it's actually a self-reflection, and you're like, oh, I am a slave to YouTube. I am a slave to capitalism. I am a slave to these things. As a follow-up to D-Day telling you that, oh, you're going to be okay. This is a command and like something to follow for other people to be like, break free of the things that are holding you back. But most importantly, Yoongi's rapping. Like, Sir Min Sugar Lamar. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, here for that Kendrick Lamar feature whenever that does happen. But more importantly, I think like we listened while we were listening to the song on in the car. It went from "Give It to Me" to "Hegum," and like while "Give It to Me" is a classy icon, just that transition, you can see how much he's grown and evolved and really finessed his rap style, and it feels like there's a command over the sound.
Yeah, like the beat doesn't own him, he owns the beat and he decides what he does with the beat. And I think it's not like he's not catching up to the beat is trying to catch up to him.
Yeah, and it's done in a very playful way.
It is, and the flows are so interesting. Like it's never repetitive, it's never what you expect. Like you expect the flow to go like but it goes it's like it's like, if you really pay attention, it's like someone's playing the piano, but it's actually like he's rapping, if you like think about it. After Hegum, we reach
if you've watched the V Live or the Archita episode, there's a lot of discussion of her, which is very good to listen to. But yeah, what were your thoughts on her?
Okay, I was so excited when I was like, oh my god, we're finally getting a soap song. Soap songs are so important to the culture. Like, Otsukare changed me as a human being, and whatever that one duet that they did, which they keep like crying, was important too. But this is like an actual soap song. And then when I heard the instrumental, like, this is a drill beat. And then Yoongi was rapping, and then Hobie came. And initially, okay, I was like, is it working, Hobie? Because for the first 2 bars, I was like, too many ad-libs. And then he gets into it. Because he's such an expert at what he does. Listen to any of his songs, okay? He'll never go into it.
Yeah,
he gives you like
he warms
you up. He gives you a little bit of taste. Like, then he gets into it. I was like, oh my god, my mind is blown. I love her. It's so good. For me, the replay value of this song is so high. I keep going back to it.
But yeah, no, her for me right now stands at like my least favorite song on the track. But I can appreciate it for all of the incredible artistry that's gone into it. Like, there's such instrumentation that's been used in her that like grips me every time. So like it's not a skip for me. Please, yeah, like it's my least favorite song on the album, but it's not a skip. It's not a bad song. It's just like there's 9 other songs that I like more.
That's true.
So like there's this one part, like there's this one flute track that's been used and it's been slowed down and reverbed for the pre-chorus, and then it like goes into proper the actual vocal sample is used for the chorus. So I think it's clever things like that that hold on to your interest and make it for such an interesting listen, because you're like, oh, what is that loop?
Track 4. Should we skip it?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay.
No, I wanted to.
Okay. Track 4 is Amygdala.
Which also has an MV, and like trigger warning if you haven't watched it, just be aware that there are like very harmful themes that are mentioned in it. It's incredible. Like this is something I applaud Yoongi so much on every single time. There is absolutely nobody's asking for it. You don't need to be vulnerable with us. It's fine. You are a doll face. You could just show up and we'd be happy with that. But the fact that you do it and make it then an easier process for your fans and make it more like, it feels as an alien concept to be vulnerable with people. And then you see this absolute star of a person doing it, and you're like, oh yeah, I can do it too. And I think it's just these sort of things make a bigger difference than we realize. And oh my god, it's so incredible. Like I was listening to it again today to like refresh my memory, and there's like a post-chorus part, which is the reason why I come back to this, because, and like y'all can hate me on this, I'm okay with it. It sounds very A.R. Rahman.
I think I remember someone tweeting where they were playing Amygdala and their brother was like, is this a Bollywood song? Because it sounds a lot like this.
It does.
So, I mean, I will say my unpopular opinion, don't hate me for it, that while I was listening to it on my first album listen, this was definitely my least favorite listening track. But obviously, first impressions are not always the last impressions. And once I read the lyrics, I was like, oh my god, heavy. And I think Yoongi, like she said, does it best because even if you go back to AugustD, the mixtape, The Last is there, or if you go to D2 has so many of these like vulnerable moment songs. But for me, Dear My Friend was something like there is storytelling, there is vulnerability, there are things that you go through that you wouldn't really like to talk about. You wouldn't even want to acknowledge them.
But I'm always going to hold a grudge against Amygdala because it's the reason why Yoongi cut his glorious long hair.
Apparently his mom was upset about it too.
Same Auntie Min.
Now we come to track number 5, SDL, which according to Yoongi is the light track on the album, which is supposed to break the heavy vibe.
Man has no idea what things mean. That's basically what it is. Like, this is what happens when you're rich and like removed from reality.
Okay, but do you think SDL is like the realest love song that Yoongi has ever given us? Romantically.
Okay, yeah, I was just about to say, I'll say it's a love song, but not necessarily romantically. Maybe it's just because I don't perceive it that way, or like I don't want to perceive it that way. But like, I do agree, love song, beautiful love song, but to me, it felt more vague and ambiguous to what kind of love it was alluding to.
Mm-hmm. I think for SDL, I liked it sonically. I think it was like a fun little like girl doing its own thing. And what I liked about it is it was not that it was light-hearted, but I think lyrically, where of course we both have our different interpretations of whether it was romantic or whatever. But I think the message that you deserve to be loved and you are good enough to be loved, and especially coming after Amygdala, which is something like you've gone through these things and you've had all these hardships. But then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you should still be loved. And I think that's a very important message.
Yeah. I mean, we're only like partway through the album, but I'm going to say this. This is, I mean, if you've watched other album deep dives and reviews that we've done, I do say this constantly. And this is one of the few examples where I'm really here for the track flow. And like every time I listen to SDL or People Part 2, it becomes very glaringly obvious that Yoongi in his mind has convinced himself that there is one type of vocal sound that counteracts his sound, and it's this breathy pop thing. So that's why it's things like IU or Jungkook or Adora who feature heavily in his vocal tracks. But while yes, that's true, I'm sure like not that he's ever going to watch this, but if the hype intern ever runs across this video, let him know he can do other ones as well.
How would Hwasa sound like with the Yoongi? And the next song is People Part 2, which we have already reviewed. But I just want to say, with coming into this, I didn't listen to People Part 2 as much as I usually do with the pre-release track. It was not the vibe that I was in at that time. But while listening to the album, I don't know whether it was the familiarity of it or where it fit in the flow of it, where personally I think this is the lightest track on the album. It's very feathery, it's kind of floaty. I think a lot of it has to do with IU's voice, but also the dog, but also the very consistent percussive track that kind of gets you going. Like it's like this kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Coming next, Polar Night.
Okay, I know I just said this about the track list, but this is one of them that I could have like swapped with Interlude Dawn. Like I feel like it could have been Interlude.
Did we skip Interlude Dawn again? Okay,
no. Like I feel like it could have been Interlude Dawn and then Polar Night, but like I don't mind the way it is. I just think like that's where I would place an interlude.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, when Polar Night started, like literally the first like ting happened, and I was like, oh, this is going to be my favorite track. I don't know if it's because of the thematics behind it, or maybe it's, why am I being foolish? You all know the answer before I know it. It's because of the instrumentation. Yeah. Because the instruments are so well done, the heavy layering of it. There's so many instruments used, but if you, like, it's like they've all been muted in the background of Yoongi's rap, which, like, there's this very old ad. I can't remember if it was like cardekho.com or something, but there's this like South Bombay girl who's like, oh, I want to get a matte screen on my car ताकि लगे कुछ करवाया है और नहीं भी करवाया है. Like Polar Night gives me that, where there is so many layers of instrumentation.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what that meant at all.
Lol, where there's so many levels of instruments, and this, I'm sure, like, now that we found out through the V-Live that there is a band traveling with Yoongi, which, like, thank you. I'm so curious what live Polar Night sounds like, because
it sounds like it's gonna sound great live. That is true.
You're right, but like the amount of production that's gone into Polar Night to make it sound a specific way, will they be able to emulate that for a live?
Probably not, and probably that's the thing where the live versions are always different, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah,
we all heard ours in live.
Oh.
But yeah, I love Polar Night, and I think on first listen sonically, apart from Hegum, this was my favorite. And it just, like, I had to replay it immediately after it ended. Like, that's how much I liked it, and I think for me it fit well again. To me, Polar Night sounds something like I've not really heard Yoongi do, which was very unique, and it doesn't sound too out of the spectrum. Like, it's not the most experimental song. It's not like super experimental or anything, but it feels like something new. And it was very exciting for me, and I enjoyed it. I think lyrically, it was not my favorite, but lyrically, it was one of my top. This thing,
top tracks.
Yeah, like a lot of entendres, a lot of like metaphors, which were interesting. But after Polar Night, we get Interlude Dawn, which, interestingly, was created by flipping the beat to SDL, and then a part of the beat of SDL was taken, flipped, pitched around, and that's how Interlude Dawn was born. And I think that is so smart.
That's really interesting, especially when you're thinking of your album as a cohesive piece of art, where you need to have things like this that jump out and don't exist as in silos of sound.
Individual things just put together. How do you feel about Interlude?
Shockingly, so surprising. So I'm so shook. And you will be too. But Interlude Dawn is my favorite track on the album.
What do you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, interludes always call out to me. I think it is the fact that like they're more instrument heavy than they are vocal heavy, and that is something that I enjoy personally, because I think there's so much more dynamism that you can give to sound through instruments, which is such a great example of Interlude Dawn. Like, I think it can play in different moods. Like, you don't, I think with other members' solos, if you listen to their interludes, especially, like, this is something I come back to with Jack in the Box interlude is very specific mood. This doesn't give me a specific mood just yet.
Yeah.
Like, I have heard it at 5 a.m, I've heard it in the middle of the afternoon. Like, it's just this beautiful track that sort of fills me with air to listen to.
Like, that Interlude Set Me Free is still my favorite interlude, but Interlude Dawn is up there, and I think I've said the word interlude way too much. So let's move on to arguably for me one of the most interesting tracks on the album, and something I look forward to the most after reading the set list, which is Snooze. After the track list, which is Snooze featuring Ryuichi Sakamoto and Woosung of The Rose.
So I've watched Woosung perform live, and it was a
subtle flex.
Very subtle. No, it was a great experience, because up till that point, like, I'm not the biggest Rose fan. I do like Woosung's individual music a lot more.
I love the texture of his voice, and I think the minute I saw his name, I was like, oh, that's a great texture to add to a Yoongi song.
But then it begged the biggest question: where do Sakamoto, Yoongi, and Woosung collide? Like, what does that Venn diagram center point look like? And I think we've ended up with a really interesting piece of music.
Very beautiful piece of music.
Yeah, there is a live clip to this, which I am not brave enough to watch because A, Yoongi, like, guitar rocker Yoongi, but B, it's also just there's this song, like, there's this other band, K-rock song called Hurt. It sort of really opened my eyes to the fact that there is a lot of K-rock going on, which is the kind of rock that I sort of grew up with, which was very like Aerosmith era, which I loved. So to have Woosung and Yoongi and Sakamoto come together to create this, not classic rock, but also not pop rock, like somewhere in the middle.
Alternative.
Okay, yeah. Wonder why I like that.
Yeah. I think for me, obviously sonically it sounds great, but I think lyrically, for me, lyrically and thematically, this is the most important song on this album because it is something, I think it's kind of like, it's a message, of course, to younger artists who want to follow in Yoongi's steps, but also a broader message of younger people who want to follow their dreams. And Yoongi being someone who struggled so much to get to where he is, and dreams and achieving them has been such a continuous theme that he's had in his work. So I think this was very important. And coming from someone like Sakamoto, who Yoongi looked up to, someone like Woo Sung, who struggled so much, look into like the Rose, where they had their label duped them. They had twice. They had a second label that also didn't pay them. Then they had to go the independent route, and now they're doing really well. So I think things like those, and the way it's done, it's not like don't work towards your dreams, it's hard, or it's a, you can do it, it's great. It's not that. It's like it gets hard, but I'm here for you when it happens. But you should still work towards it. But if you're tired, it's okay to rest. It's okay to cry. It's okay to work towards what you want. And I think that's a very reassuring and a very realistic sort of thing. And I think for me, it is very, very similar to my favorite Bangtan track, which is Paradise, which is also about achieving your dream, but doing it your way. And it's resting while you're doing it. Like,
wonder why you're so pro-rest. But now that we've watched Archita and the V-Live, and there is so much more back context to when he created this, it's so interesting because he himself was in a place where he was like, oh, low-key feeling burnout, was like, oh, I'm not really sure where to go from here. Where does this album go?
2020, all of us, right?
Not just that, but like the fact that he then delayed the album release because he was like stuck in a
writer's block.
Yeah, in a rut and didn't know where to go, and went to the hospital and like then figured it out for himself. And then
it wasn't a medical emergency, guys. It was just some vitamins.
Yeah, which is a bananas concept. Like, we come from a country of accessible healthcare, and even then that sounds crazy. But so I think all of that contextualized the song so much more to me. Where and this is like a recurring theme that I feel throughout the album, where like the messaging is one thing, but the sound that it ends up with is a different thing. And for me, it's easier to treat them as two entities. But like, I know, of course, that's not how everybody deals with it. But so lyrically, it's one being, but sonically, it's another being.
That is true. And they work well together.
Yeah. Of course.
That's true. And now we come to the final track, which is Life Goes On, which when the track was dropped, we were all like, huh?
Yeah.
Track 3.
Straight up, gonna say this.
Joke.
Track 3?
I said, huh? Track 3.
Oh, sorry. I did. Sorry. But yeah, no, straight up, I have to say this. Min Yoongi is my petty hero, like grudge holding forever hero. Okay, there's an old interview from like 2016 where June talks about Yoongi and says, oh, Hyung will hold a grudge forever. And this is proof. He was like, Mera LGO version nahi choose kara for B. I will release it under the same, no part 2, no Suga's version, none of that. Same name, I will put it out there. And like, imagine having the confidence to do that. Like,
that's true. And because he knows it's great. And I think this is like, it's like if LGO was fun, because LGO is a lot of things. It's a great track. It's very like heartfelt, and oh my god, I keep going back to it because whatever, I'm crazy. But yeah, it doesn't have fun in it, and I think Yoongi added this pop fun element to Life Is Going On. And I think it's interesting the part of the lyrics that he chose to keep in when he does like Hobie's part or some parts of the chorus. So, you kind of like Min Yoongi or AgustD or Suga, whatever you refer to him as, he is still someone who's a part of BTS.
Yeah.
He's still someone, and again, this comes out in all of the members' music, but the influences that they've had from their group are so evident, and they're never shy of admitting to it. It's not like One Direction where they're like, oh, gone.
Try 3.
Like none of that. Cool. So finally, favorite track on the album?
I said it already, Interlude Dawn, hands down, like such an incredible piece of music. What about you?
Hegum, love it. I think, and this has been a consistent thing for me in almost all of, except Indigo, all the other releases.
The title track.
But the title track has been my favorite because just take lyrics, everything aside, I think vocal performance or whatever rap performance and instrumentally they're just giving it. There's a reason it's the title track and it's really good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. One takeaway from the album, whether it's a message or it's an insight or whatever it is.
I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I know initially I had like a certain answer, but I don't know like if that's like, now that I've watched the Spotify video and all of that, and like the whole you are good enough to be loved already is such a strong statement. And I think we do live in a society right now where it isn't like the easiest message to accept and understand.
For me, it's not exactly that, but somewhere on those lines where it is a message that we hear a lot. It is a message that Bangtan give us a lot, but it's just that keep working towards your dreams and dreams, yeah. But it's not like this one dream which is perfect or whatever. The dream can change. The way you work towards it can change. All of those things can change, and it's okay to not have to. It's never going to be a straight line, and a lot of it isn't just even a direct message in this album as much as it is Yoongi just telling us his story. And we can intercept things from that. But it's like, it might change, it might not be the same, it might not be what you expect it to be. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't work towards it or just give up on it. Just figure it out. And you will figure it out.
Yeah, that's the
You can do it.
Yeah.
It's that. So, what were your favorite songs? Let us know. What was it about D-Day that you loved? What was it about D-Day that you didn't like? Is there anything you didn't like, actually?
I don't think I'm in a place right now where I can point out something I didn't like, because I think it does take more listens to find out things that you don't enjoy. There is nothing that I like from the outgo. I can't.
It wasn't like ye nahi hona chahiye.
That's what I mean. Like aisa kuch, there's nothing that I can point to right now. Of course, there are things that I didn't enjoy. Like I did say Her was not something that I enjoyed, but that was a very personal thing that I know that drill music just isn't something that I appreciate generally as well. It's not a genre I turn to.
But not something you didn't enjoy, but something else that you would like from the next Yoongi project that didn't exist in D-Day.
I think I do want something genuinely lighter. Like I do want something that's just fun and for the heck of it. Like
because he can do it. Like we've heard that.
We've seen that. We've seen Otsukare. I mean, even Otsukare is a little deeper than anything else. But I just mean like there is propensity to do it, and that is something that not to do comparisons, but like Super Tuna was a great example of that.
But Jin was like Abyss and Tonight.
Yeah,
but the astronaut.
And not everything has to be taken seriously, and not everything has to be the deepest meaning. Sometimes things can just be for the fun of it. And I'm sure this man has some beats locked up somewhere where he just wants to like have fun with it. And I want that to happen.
For me, I think I want experimentation, because I think one thing that Yoongi obviously is very he has a very diverse set of skills in terms of his musical space. Like he can do a lot of genres within a specific genre. But I think I want like something, I want a change part 2 from Yoongi. Like that's what I mean. Where it's something that I'm just like, oh, I couldn't, like, when we saw Jack in the Box, we were like, I didn't picture Hobi doing this. But I think Yoongi is really good at what he does. But now I want to see something where I'm like I want Yoongi to do something that sounds like a Twice song.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, man's capable of it. So let's do it.
Yeah, like next Trot album featuring Jin. If there's anything else that you want us to check out, talk about, react to, whatever, you can let us know in the comments or hit us up on Instagram in the DMs. And you can check out all our content on our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, because that's where we're like fun and cute.
We will be back next week. I was Sarah.
And I was Sophia. We'll see you next time. Bye.